Hello, everyone. This is Mark Anthony with Edge on Regen Show, the place where we bring you the best of the best doctors, nurse practitioners, neurologists, and just people that love focusing on helping people. That's what this show is all about. And I like to ask the questions that maybe some people are thinking, and I'm just going to say it. So again, today we have nurse practitioner of 24 going on 25 years at movitahealth.com, movitahealth.com. Guys, you can get a hold of Tawnya O'Keefe at 208-797-5397. I'm going to say it one more time, 208-797-5397. I know I sound like a radio host because I am one. All right. So today we are going to be talking about what are the symptoms of low testosterone, or in other words, TRT, and what's the benefits. But before we do that, Tawnya, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Oh, yeah. It's a blessing to have you. We had a great little chit chat before we started on here. And I just want to say I love what you do. I love your heart and your passion for helping people, especially helping them get out of the funk. And what I mean by funk, this testosterone, how important it is to our body, and not just that, but our health. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the industry and why you're doing this.
Yeah, it was kind of a long story. 24 years is a long time. But I started out, my first job as a nurse practitioner, I was in neurosurgery. I did that for about 9 years, and that was fun. Then I went into nephrology, which is a study of kidney disease.
Oh, wow.
And, and I was doing hospital work for them. And so I saw the sickest of the sick people. And I got very frustrated with, basically, we were managing their death. And I kept thinking to myself, if somebody had gotten to these people 10 years sooner and helped them make changes in their life, we wouldn't be here today. And so it got me to thinking, how can I do this? How can I make a difference in these people's lives before they get to the point where they need dialysis and different things like that? And so I went back to school for my second master's in functional medicine and nutrition. And then I switched off into Movita Health about going on 6 years now. And here we are.
Second master's, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. The first one was too easy. I'm gonna double up. So neurology.
Nephrology, which is the kidneys. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Nephrology. I learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. And double masters. Okay. You going to go for that triple, or you just,
No, I figured the first one was a fluke, and I was able to do the second one. So I feel good now.
It was a fluke. I love it. So, I know we're going to be talking about testosterone today. I will do a little backwards. Tell us a little bit, what's the umbrella of what services that you offer before we get into this?
Yeah, so I approach healthcare a little bit differently. We look for the root cause of the illness. So, in conventional medicine, and I'm not dogging on conventional medicine because there's a place for that. But
exactly.
But basically, they're looking for a pill for the ill, right? They're trying to match a pill to a diagnosis. And I take a different approach. I ask the question, why is this dysfunction happening in the body? And how can we stop that flow of inflammation or disease so that the person can have restored health? Does that kind of make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
And so this kind of brings me to a big point I wanted to talk about, is there's really 3 things that we address, 3 things that are the root of all illness. And I think these are really important. So stress, toxins, and crap food are that those 3 things, you can link almost every disease back to a conglomeration of those in some way. So when you think about I'm going to kind of address it in the testosterone light, but stress, think about when the testosterone starts going down in men. You start losing about 1 to 2% per year at about age 30. What happens when you're 30? Well, that's when you start getting a family. Your work responsibilities increase. And
Stress.
stress. Yep, exactly. You start sleeping less. For optimal testosterone, optimal health, you need around 7 hours of sleep or more. How many people get that when they're in their 30s and 40s and they're gunning for their career? And think about cortisol as being a castration device. So cortisol will disrupt the communication between the brain and other areas of the body, particularly the testicles, in the case of testosterone. So stress is huge in the cause of disease, causes a ton of problems. And you know what else men are guilty of is not asking for help. And so that's another form of stress. They get overwhelmed and they just take it on. They internalize it. And so I think that's a big problem for men. Now, the other thing, toxins, right? Toxins in the environment. So we address how can we eliminate or at least reduce toxins that we're being exposed to from a disease perspective. We're exposed to herbicides, we're exposed to pesticides. Those all cause inflammation in the body. Plastics that we're drinking out of and eating out of on the go, right? Smog, emissions from our vehicles, smoke. We live in the Pacific Northwest. There's tons of smoke all the time in the summer, right? And then drugs. We talked a little bit about conventional medicine, and some of the prescription drugs that we are giving people are causing other diseases. It's not as simple as I give you a drug for something and it just takes care of the problem. It's changing the way your body functions. And so that's going to cause another downstream problem.
Mhm.
Now, the other thing that is really a problem is narcotics and alcohol. So we're trying to, we come home after a long day's work, stressed out, have a couple glasses of wine, don't sleep well. We don't feel like exercising in the morning, and the cycle just gets worse, right? And then we're on the go, we're busy, we are a stop and go society. And so crap food, we have poor diets in America. The standard American diet is low in protein, low in high quality fats. We demonize cholesterol to the point of being dangerous. And then we fill ourselves full of dairy that is crammed full of synthetic hormones and God knows what else that they've been given. And so all of these things lead to inflammation in the body. And inflammation is what is at the crux of disease. And if we can break the cycle of inflammation, we can change disease processes. And so that's kind of how I run my practice. And every problem that comes in, we approach through that lens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I like the way you said that. So would you say that do you think it's 50-50 with the men and the women in your clinic with testosterone?
No, believe it or not, I attract the men in my clinic. I have a large proportion, I would say 70 to 80%. It's getting to be more women because men are dragging their wives in now. It's usually the wives dragging the husbands in. I have the husbands dragging the wives in.
Right. Uh-huh.
So it's getting to be more equal, but maybe 70% men, 30% women. But
wow, interesting. See, I know a lot of women will probably say this. Well, I don't want to do it because I don't want to get hairy. I don't want to grow hair. Is that a concern also?
I mean, it is. So if you overdo, and that's a big concern with women, if you overdo testosterone, you can have androgenic effects, meaning secondary sexual characteristics that normally would belong to men. So facial hair, deepening of the voice, enlargement of the clitoris, things that we don't want. And so with women, we tend to go a little slower. We start with smaller doses and work our way up. And we're a little more careful with women to not masculinize them.
Okay. Awesome. So depending on your levels, you want to start at low dose and then work up slowly till you get to the levels that are perfect for them. And then that's where you kind of stay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you now the question that I would like to kind of connect with is, are the symptoms for low testosterone, is that the same for men and women? Do they have the kind of maybe the same type of side effects?
So the symptoms are similar. So everybody always thinks about sex drive, right? That's like
Correct.
the first thing that comes to everybody's head. And that is part of it for both men and women. Women are a little more complex when it comes to sex drive. You know, you can't just give them testosterone and they're going to be fine. You know, we really have to address the cortisol and the other issues and the other hormones with women to get those all balanced for it to work. The other thing is enjoyment in life. A lot of men and women will complain of lack of enjoyment in life. That can be anything from anxiety, depression, moodiness, irritability, things that a lot of doctors would prescribe antidepressants for, which can actually make the problem worse if it's low testosterone, interestingly. Yeah. Lack of motivation is a big one. Just not having that drive.
Okay.
You know, I call testosterone the male motor, and it's also kind of the female motor. It gives you that drive. Just a general lack of energy and kind of easily fatigable. A lot of people talk about coming home after long days of work and falling asleep right after dinner on the couch. That's kind of a classic. Yeah. You know.
Oh yeah.
Difficulty putting on muscle or losing muscle. So with women, it's more difficulty putting on the muscle. And with men, they're like, gosh, I'm losing my muscle. And then fat. With men, getting fat in the middle is a sign of some hormone imbalance, whether it be excess estrogen or not enough testosterone. And women too can have that extra little layer of fat that they're not used to from having low testosterone. When you are working out, noticing a lack of endurance, noticing strength tapering off. You're like, God, I used to be able to, deadlift, this much weight. Now I can only do, 70% of that. That can be a sign. For men, this is kind of specific to men, is that lack of those secondary sexual characteristics that we were talking about, like the facial hair, chest hair, that type of thing. And then shrinkage of their testicles can be a sign that their testicles aren't working like they were before. And so,
really,
yeah. And then both sexes can have bone thinning or bone loss, leading to osteopenia, osteoporosis, and putting them at risk for fractures later in life. Those are the main symptoms we see. Yeah.
Now, I also know a lot of men I've heard this where they're like, I don't want to go bald. I love my beautiful hair, and I'm afraid that if I take testosterone, I'm going to go bald. And then I remember this other doctor said, well, if that's the case, look at Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. They were the main top users in that industry. Yeah. But then in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, but they're rich. They probably got plugs. So
and they might have plugs. Here's the thing. I have a lot of men, and I do have some men who complain of hair loss. And then I have men who don't. There's a difference. So if you are predisposed to male pattern baldness, you probably will lose hair faster. So what happens is when you take on exogenous, meaning testosterone from the outside to the end, some of it is going to be processed or transformed in what's called the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, gets a hold of it. We have DHT receptors all over, and men who are predisposed to male pattern baldness will have a lot of these receptors in their scalp. And so this 5-alpha reductase enzyme will convert the testosterone into DHT.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So DHT is responsible for the loss of hair. But DHT isn't always the enemy. See, that's the problem. So men want to turn off their DHT, right? Because they're like, I don't want to lose any hair. So I want to turn off that DHT. The problem is that if you turn it off, in a lot of men, you can turn off libido, you can affect sexual function, and you can affect brain function. So even bone mineralization. So there's a caveat to that. You got to be careful. So what I would say is if you are predisposed to that male pattern baldness, you do have to be careful, because
meaning if it runs in the family.
Yep. Okay. It definitely could affect you. And but I will say that I haven't had a single man stop therapy because of it.
Well, of course, because they feel great.
They'd rather be bald.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's like this is what I'm saying. If you're 35 and you're not bald, man, don't trip. Just the way I look at it, because normally people end up they start getting bald in their 30s, and
Yes.
I've seen, my father started getting bald in his 40s. I'm 47,
Look at
and but there's a difference though. It's because I'm not trying to say he wasn't smart, but he had long hair and I had long hair back in the day, the whole 90s thing. And
oh
so
yeah.
the reason why I cut my hair was because I noticed that I was starting to thin right here because of the hair follicles, it being in the back.
Oh. Mhm.
And so my brain's thinking like, okay, well then I'm going to stay to short hair. When I did that, it just grew like a machichi. And my dad kept his hair long and he was balding all over the sides because of it was breaking the
Pulling.
hair follicles. So he could have had his hair if he, didn't do that. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, he might have. That might be exactly what
Because when
happened.
you use a rubber band, it pulls the hair out of your hair. You
It
don't
does.
just realize it,
Oh,
you
well,
know?
when you have it holding that hair back, you take that ponytail out, you can just feel
Yeah.
that sensation. So it definitely pulls on the follicles for
And
sure.
it's staying up all day.
All
I
day.
mean, and you have heavy hair, I don't know. It's just,
Yep.
um, very interesting thought. So what it's the famous question, what works better? Is it injection or
Oh.
is it pellets? From your opinion. And you're entitled to an opinion. That's a beautiful
Okay, okay. I'll
thing.
tell you, I don't use pellets. And it's very
Cream?
I use some cream,
Okay.
but here's I want to talk about pellets. There's a lot of advantages to pellets. Okay. It's simple. You go in once every 3 months, you get your pellet. It gives you a steady flow of however much hormone you put in. Um, that is all really a positive effect. Now, here's the problem. We don't know how much testosterone you're going to need. It's not as simple as one size fits all, right? So if I put in a pellet on you that's way too strong, we're going to have a ton of side effects. We're going to increase that DHT formation. We're going to increase estrogen formation. We're going to be struggling fighting these side effects way harder. Now, on the flip side, if I don't put in enough, you're really not going to feel the effect. And you're going to be a little frustrated and a little disappointed. And we're going to have to either add a cream or an injection on top of that. And so for me, I feel like most men tolerate the injections really well. I'm able to teach all my men to do it on their own so they don't have to be inconvenienced in coming into the clinic.
Wow.
And so I just feel like it's much more empowering. And here's the thing: there are things throughout the seasons that it will affect your testosterone, like we talked about. Like it's a smoky season right now, right? So I have a lot of guys whose testosterone is a little bit in the tank right now. We just got through the smoke, and so I've had to increase their testosterone a little bit to help them out, get them back to where they were feeling good again. And then as a couple months from now, we might have to bring it back down again. It's really easy to do if I'm doing weekly injections.
Mhm.
It's really not as easy to do if I'm doing a pellet that I can only do every 3 months. So,
Wow. Okay.
and kind of the same with the cream. Now, the difference with the cream and the injection is generally once a week. I have some guys who do bi-weekly, but for the most part, it's once a week. That's pretty easy. A cream, now I'm not dogging on men, but men are not really good at doing something every day in general.
Nope.
And
Nope.
so, and a cream needs to be done at least every day, oftentimes twice a day. And I'm
Yep.
just not going to get most men, I don't get great compliance with that. And so most of the time we end up doing injection therapy for them.
Oh, wow. So what I hear you saying is you feel like injection therapy is probably the best for the best results from what you've seen.
For me, yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, in my women, it's different. In my women, I use creams because women are more consistent, and
Bingo.
and we're not dealing with very high numbers. And so to get a small enough, you're barely. I mean, you'd be barely giving a couple drops of testosterone in an injection to a woman, and that's not worth the poke and the
Hmm.
all of that to do. And so most women are very happy to do the creams.
Okay. Are those the only type of options that you recommend, or are the creams or the injection?
Oh, no, we have other options too. So let's say a man wants to, so here's, we haven't talked about side effects yet, but one of the side effects of testosterone therapy is shrinkage of the testicles. Okay. And
Why is that even a bad thing?
well, a lot of men just feel like they get self-conscious about that.
I'm
They
I'm
go
being
complain.
sarcastic. By the way, I'm being sarcastic.
Okay. I've been complaints
It'd
about
be
that.
like, you're like, my nose is this big and now it's like, what the
It leads to some conversations. And so if that's a if that's a
They act
problem,
like they're going out and everybody can see them. Anyways, I'm sorry.
I know.
I know. Oh boy,
but they do get self-conscious. And
I
so they're
got you.
in men like that, depending on what their initial labs come back looking like and their age and different things and their wishes to maintain fertility, we can also do things such as HCG, which is human chorionic gonadotropin. It's an injection again, but it's not testosterone. So it's an injection that you do once, twice, maybe 3 times a week that stimulates your own endogenous testosterone.
Wow.
So it just ramps up your own production. And so we can use that as a monotherapy, meaning that's all we use. So I have some men who are younger who want to maintain fertility. We can use HCG to maintain their fertility. And so that's an option. We also have Clomid, which is an oral medication that used to be used for women's fertility. And now it's been approved to be used for men and hypogonadism or hypotestosterone production. The caveat with that is it's oral, it's easy, it's every other day. Men like that convenience. But I'll tell you, I don't find that most men feel as good on that. They love the HCG, they're not as happy with the Clomid. So most men end up with some form of injectable in my clinic. Yeah.
That's interesting. Testosterone's been around for what, like 80 years?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think the 1930s and 40s is kind of when it started.
I wonder if some of the baseball players are using it, and just in the back of my head, because I'm like, man, a lot of them didn't get hurt as much as I see people then, because I know restrictions were a lot more lenient back then.
Well, they weren't even thinking about it, right?
No, they weren't. Mm-mm.
It wasn't even on the radar to test for.
They're like, if it works for a horse, it'll work for a human.
Exactly. That's been
Wow.
a long time.
Okay.
Time.
What are more we talked about some of the side effects that could be, but what would you say? What are more of the pros for people that are maybe on the fence about it? Like, I'll be honest, I've been on the fence. I'm about to get off the fence. I've talked to quite a few doctors, nurse practitioners, and of course, I can't just say I want to have some. I got to go see if my levels are even low or even high. I have a lot of energy because you're seeing my cup of coffee speaking. Even though this is tea with water, I gotta dilute the sucker. But I'm just being real. Like, a lot of people just, even if you have a lot of energy, doesn't necessarily mean you might still need testosterone. That's also another kicker. Would you say?
Absolutely. So you have to think about the whole package, right? And I do have some guys who come in here who don't have fatigue, but maybe they're just having trouble with just kind of not feeling the spark that they used to feel, or their cognition is just a little bit not quite as sharp as they used to be, that type of thing. There's actually evidence that testosterone can be protective against dementia and Alzheimer's later in life.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a study done, I think it was at USC, where they studied and found that men who were given testosterone who already had the diagnosis of Alzheimer's, it stalled the progression of their Alzheimer's. That's how
interesting.
Isn't that interesting? So, and the other thing to think about is it's protective. It's very demonized. I don't know how,
of course.
how that happened.
It's whenever something works.
Yes. But it's actually protective against cardiovascular risk too. So men with undergoing testosterone therapy tend to have lower blood pressures. They tend to have better lipid profiles, both of which are precursors to cardiovascular disease. So it can be a preventative thing for that as well. It also prevents against metabolic disease, things like diabetes, and things like that. It helps to prevent against that. So even if you don't have symptoms of it right now today, it can still, getting your levels to a healthy level can be beneficial. One I forgot to mention that I think is really important, and this kind of gets into one of the big myths of testosterone, is prostate cancer. Everybody is so lit up about testosterone and prostate cancer, and there's absolutely nothing supporting it as far as literature goes in the present day.
Mm-hmm.
What they have found is if I chemically castrate you right now, I would eliminate your risk of pretty much of prostate cancer, but nobody wants to live like that. You don't want to live with a testosterone of 0. However, if you're sitting between the ranges of 0 and 300, somewhere in there, your risk of prostate cancer is higher.
Wow.
Whereas if I get you into that more normal range, it reduces your risk of prostate cancer. So it's a U-shaped curve, upside down U-shaped curve of risk. So
amazing.
Mind blowing, right?
People you know what? That's kind of irritating. People should be talking about this. Like this, I'm literally going to clip this part out in a good way, meaning part out for Facebook reels and stuff like that. It's just people need to see, these are things that people need to hear more about. It actually, from what I'm hearing, it helps out with the longevity of your life and to enjoy your life a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And all around.
And then we didn't even get to the improved bone mineral density. One of the, if you suffer a hip fracture at age 70, your chances of dying in the next 2 years is exponential. So improving that bone mineral density is really important as we age. And so I think of it, when I think of a man going on testosterone therapy, I think about aging well, right?
Wow.
And preventing a lot of remember, we're root cause, right? And so we look for root cause. And so if I can get to the root cause of a lot of cardiovascular disease, metabolic disease, bone mineral density, prostate cancer, and prevent those things from happening, think of how much more longevity and reduced morbidity and mortality that we're going to experience as we age.
Wow. Amazing. I never even thought about that. Does it help out with wrinkles?
Actually, yes, it does.
Don't even really.
It improves collagen formation. I mean, look, come on, look at my face. Do I look like I'm 54?
No.
Hey, there you go.
Not at all. Are you using anything? Come on.
I do use supplemental testosterone. I absolutely do. Yes.
Okay, so supplemental testosterone is the same as just regular, just testosterone.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, just the verbiage.
It's a verbiage, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and with that, and again, that would be like a weekly thing.
For me, I do it the daily cream.
Oh, it's a daily cream. Do you put it like on your face?
Nope, just on a fatty part of my body, and then it gets absorbed into the bloodstream and affects all these different things.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So my wife, she's gonna be like, really? I know her too well. She'll be watching this. No, because it's cool because like normally a lot, what we just started doing recently, which is really cool, is I'll do the first show and then my wife will do the second. So it's kind of coming from a man's point of view. Right. And then you have a woman's point of view, which is, they're two totally different.
Totally different.
It's like right, left-hand side,
It is.
That's why I think that when men and women come together, hey, you're one whole. Especially when you get older, if your hip's hurting, hey, she's got the strong right hip.
That's right.
Your glasses, okay, you can borrow my eyes. It's so talk about like a root becoming one like a tree. It's very interesting. One more question: what other things would you say that helps with bone density, also vibrance besides testosterone?
Oh man, now you're
besides the food. Now we know the food's a major deal.
I think
besides the food,
bigger than even anything that we've talked about would be weight training.
I'm listening.
You have to weight train. I'm talking the big compound heavy moves. So we need to be doing chest press, weighted squats, deadlifts, overhead press, pull-ups. We need to do it. We need to put the stress on the bones to encourage them to get strong. So that is 100% necessary. The other thing is cardio. You need a little bit of cardio.
People ignore that.
They do. And it doesn't have to be a lot, and it doesn't have to be strenuous. 2 to 3 times a week, 30 to 45 minutes, that will help. But those, if I had to pick, it would be exercise and those 2 things.
I like that. So I used to be a tennis pro. So I love what I love about tennis is continual movement on the feet. I bought a tennis ball machine, and what I like to encourage people, some people don't like working out.
I know.
So I always say it like this: find something that you enjoy that's going to help improve your body and even strength. If you love rock climbing, dude, rock climb every freaking day like a lizard.
Yes.
If you love running, you know what? Get some good shoes.
And do it.
I recommend run on something that's cushy, like the tracks. You know what I mean? I love swimming. Oh God, I love swimming. So I'll do laps nonstop until I can't go anymore. It's doing something too. And a lot of people are stopped doing it. Like they sit at a desk all day.
And we're guilty of that. Very guilty of that.
100%.
I sit on a desk for 8 hours a day, so I get it. But we have to find something else. And you brought up rock climbing. Well, that is just doing a bunch of pull-ups, right? And lunges. So really, you're still doing this weighted training. And tennis, that's just doing a bunch of chest presses, really.
You're right.
Yeah. And you're
but then your legs too, because it's different stops, and
so you're lunging.
You're keeping the strength in the legs. But I hear what you're saying. And I think when we start to realize that, okay, do I want to live longer or not? It's pretty simple.
Very simple.
And then like minerals, nobody talks about mineral. Like that's a whole different thing. Like Irish sea moss, people don't realize, look, we have, I think, about 100 in our body, about 105 minerals, 102 minerals, I think, in our body.
Yes.
But with Irish sea moss, you can get up to 92 minerals automatically. You can go buy a bag for $15 online.
And it's easy.
And then and you just rinse it out with water and let it soak. Put it in the blender, and put you can put whatever 2 12-ounce cups of water. Blend the sucker for 15 minutes. Put it in the refrigerator in a tube or whatever you want, in a glass jar. What I use, and then you can use a scoop of that and put it in your shake every day. And now you're getting the minerals.
Yep. And one thing in regards to minerals and nutrients, you can't forget about. Everybody thinks about calcium when they think about bones, of course, but don't forget about vitamin D with K, and don't forget about magnesium. So you need both. Magnesium. Yep, you need it all in order to make the bones as strong as they can be.
See, I use it for my water when I drink all day. So I do like a gallon of water a day, sometimes a little bit more. Just because I love water. My wife's like, don't you want something else to drink? I love water. I just love. And not only that, this is cool. So not only that, but people don't realize that we need to turn off the stinking thinking, the stuff that's on our phones, the stuff's on the TV, the negative, all the negative stuff. Because what happens is we get it in, and then we consume it. Yes, we consume it. And then our body hears that and starts to do what it hears. So when people ask me, this is no joke. People ask me, how old are you? I just say 27. They're like, okay, whatever. Right. Or some people say, okay, yeah, I can see. Yeah. Okay. You look pretty good. Whatever. I just keep telling myself I'm 27. And my best friend's like, why, dude? Why? Dude, you're 47. I go, no, I'm 27. I go, because think about this. You tell your computer what you are, right? Your brain does not know how old you are. Your brain does not know. It does not. If you turn off the circuits to pain in your it's a brain connected to it, your sensors. You turn those off, it doesn't know if you cut your finger. You got your sensories. So what you do is, I'm trying to retrain my brain. Say, you know what? I'm strong. I'm vibrant. I'm smart. I'm beautiful. I'm speaking life upon this 90% of water that's inside me.
So
and
good.
speaking it to my brain because we have to. But a lot of people think that's just um, I love this. I'm speaking motivational to myself. I go, it's not being motivational. I mean, don't you have to take a shower every day?
Exactly.
It's no, you got to speak life to yourself. And we have to do that to our bodies. Yes, testosterone is something that we do need. But let me
100%.
tell you something. If you come in there and you need testosterone and this has not changed and you're not speaking life to yourself, you're throwing your money away.
You are. Well, it comes back to stress too, right? Because that's a stress. And if you're not taking care of that stress, yeah, it's all for naught, right?
No, 100%. You know, it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and because I was talking to it's bad. I was talking to a box doctor,
Okay.
and I call box doctors the ones that want to give you a pill to give you another pill to
Yes.
give you another pill.
Yes.
Next, thing you know, your ship's got a bunch of holes in it, and you're screwed because this was supposed to take care of this, but this happening to take care of this, but this
100%.
happened. And so, I had this is no joke. This was literally yesterday. No, this was 2 days ago. So I'm talking to the box doctor. I doubt he watched my shows, but if so, I'm talking to you. Sorry. So, because we were talking, and I said, I don't want to give my son these pills.
Yeah.
I go, we already seen that he's not feeling well. I didn't want to do the pills in the first place, but his mom did, and now I'm seeing the effects.
Right.
This is not good. And I go, what I don't understand is you went to school to be a doctor. Why don't we focus on the root to find the root instead of giving it a patch? Because I never see the box doctors. I didn't say that, Tim. The box doctors cure the root. You're supposed to work yourself out of a job, not to give another pill.
100%.
And he just looked at me like, well, I see where you're coming from, Mark. I go, no. You signed the paper. I said, no, you signed the paper. So I understand. You signed it. You don't want to lose. I understand. But you came in this profession to heal. Anyways, it's like we got to get back to the root of why we do what we do. The way I look at it, we're doing this video here. If we could touch one person to help them out, we did our job.
100%.
But we gotta spread that awareness. See, I didn't know about Alzheimer's. See, this is that's a whole nother subject. Because if I don't, let's just say you're starting to have muscle memory, a little bit muscle where you're not remembering stuff and stuff like that, not muscle memory, but you're started losing memory in certain things. This will start to help you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I'm you got me pumped. just testosterone. So anyways, this was awesome. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here on the show with Edge on RegenShow.com. Tell us where we can get a hold of you and where you're located, if you don't mind.
All right. So we are in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And feel free to call the office at 208 797 5397. And if you call, be sure and tell us where you came from, that the podcast that you listen to. Yes, let us know so that we can help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, I just want to say thank you for what you do, and thank you for helping as many people as you do, because that's becoming a lot less rare these days.
Thank you so much for having me and helping me spread the word.